What up, people? It's me, Shelby, from the Record Shrine. Here to discuss Conway the Machine and Funkmaster Flex and Pete Rock too. But for the most part, this is going to be about Conway the West and Funkmaster Flex. I just wanted to give my 2 cents on the situation because everybody has an opinion on it, and I think that people are overlooking the main theme, the main point that Conway the Machine was making. So I'm gonna touch on that. And I did look at this video. I think it's a new channel, relatively new channel. I could be wrong. Shouts out to them, by the way. It's called the Rap Roundtable. I looked at their video on this subject, and they made sense. Those brothers was discussing it, and I like what they had to say. But I am gonna push back a little bit because I have a bit of a different stance on the situation. So I'm gonna just delve into that and just push back a little bit. But shout out to them. Go subscribe to their channel. It's pretty cool that they wanting to discuss hip hop culture. So that's pretty cool. So initially, I'm just gonna tell you flat out, I am in 100% agreement with Conway the Machine, and I am not. I just didn't go along or agree with anything Funkmaster Flex had to say about it. About what Kanye the Machine had to say. I thought that Funkmaster Flex was very immature, and I'm gonna give you my reasons why, and I'm gonna go more into depth as to the point that Conway the Machine was making that I think people are not listening to. So I'm just gonna get into it real quick. So Conway the Machine basically had an issue with New York City not playing his records on the radio compared to other artists. Whether that was artists Beat Amigos, Gunna, Cardi B, Megan Thee Stallion, Lotto, whoever's popular. Conway the Machine feel as if they should be getting just as much spins. They are a platinum selling group. They are popular in New York City, in the streets. They are popular around the country. So he felt that they should be getting more spins or being played along with those artists as well. And not just him, but it's bigger than Griselda. He's talking about just play everybody stuff, man. Play everybody, like from Rhapsody, Dave East, Star Rock, the female MC from DC, and other artists, Joey Badass. They should be getting played on the radio there in New York, along with the Migos, along with everybody else. Gunner and Young Thug, whoever's popular. Why not? And I think that's the point he was trying to make. And he's saying that DJs in New York City, like Funkmaster Flex, is the problem. They are the gatekeepers, which is true. They are the gatekeepers, but I will say that Funkmaster Flex does have bosses, and he is told what to play. So, but in the end, Funkmaster Flex, being the veteran that he is, being that he knows Griselda, being that he knows about the underground situation, he does have some flexibility where he can make things more balanced. And I think Conway knows that, Pete Rock knows that, so that's why they kind of mentioned him and other DJs from New York City. So now let me elaborate more on Conway's point here. Why he feels the way he feels about the DJs in New York City, not the streets of New York, but DJs. And I'm going to just break it down in more depth for you. So, what Conway the Machine is saying when he travels to different places outside of New York City, not just Conway the Machine, but the rest of the Griselda camp, Rhapsody, Dave East, Fabulous, Jadakiss, Jay-Z, Nas, Redman, LL Cool J, Busta Rhymes, you name it, that are Q-Tip from A Tribe Called Quest, De La Soul, Talib Kweli, Mos Def. When these guys travel outside of New York City and go to a city like Houston, go to a city like Oakland, go to a city like New Orleans, Atlanta, Memphis, they are seeing something that they don't see in New York. They are seeing people in those particular cities support their artists heavy. That's what they're seeing. They know this is going on. This is why Conway the Machine brought this up. So, for example, I'm just going to use Houston. Let me use Houston, Texas as an example. Houston had the Ghetto Boys all the way up to Swisher House, DJ OG Ron G, Michael 5000 Watts, all those guys, Screw, DJ Screw, Chopped and Screw, the people in the streets, the rappers, they were selling records out their trunks or their car, the CDs out the car. People would buy it. It gets back up to the DJs, and they play the records, and it becomes a hit, and it's all interwoven. Now, this is local, but it's all interwoven locally, but eventually starts to spread out to the rest of the nation. It's all because of the heavy support they were getting from at home. Not just Houston is doing this, New Orleans, same thing. You had No Limit, Cash Money, Soulja Slim, all those guys. Atlanta's doing this. Oakland was one of the first cities to do this, selling CDs out the car, people buying it, and it's going up to the DJs. You are not seeing this in New York City. New York doesn't do that, and I don't understand why, but I have a theory on why this may be the case. So, as everybody knows, New York City is the home base of hip hop culture. We all know that. All of the major labels, all of them, are in New York City except for maybe one or two. I know Capitol Records is a major label. They are located in Los Angeles. The others are pretty much in New York City. So that's problem number one. Because, if you're a rapper from New York City during the late 80s, during the 80s or whatever, you have all those resources right there in your backyard. So the thinking was different. You make a CD or demo tape or whatever, 1,000 artists there, and you're giving them to a DJ at the radio station. The chances of them playing your record is minimum. They're just gonna grab it and toss it to the side. And that's what they did in New York, and so when certain groups got on, it was luck. They worked hard, they grinded hard, made a name for themselves in the streets, so to speak. But a lot of it comes down to luck. Q-Tip from A Tribe Called Quest in that movie Beat Rhymes in Life, he pretty much Red Alert got it one of them because of the Jungle Brothers. That was it. You get what I'm saying? KRS-One, his beef with MC Shan, it was because of Mr. Magic wouldn't play his stuff, even though it was good. So those type of things, you didn't see this silliness going on in other cities, and all because all these major labels are there in New York City. So it was hard. The thinking was different. They didn't think to try to sell records out the trunk of their car and give it to the people and let them listen to it. Didn't think to do that. So I think that was a problem. And this went on for a long time, well into the 90s, etc. The only artist that I saw in New York that grinded hard like that and did things different was Duck Down Records, Black Moon. They didn't need a major label. They did their own thing and probably learned, I'm just assuming that they learned something from them other cities and did it that way and were able to be successful. So the major labels there, and the fact that Houston, Atlanta didn't have those kind of labels there in their city, they had to do things different. And that is sell records out the trunk of their car and give it to the DJs. The DJ supported it, etc. And with New York being, arrogant kind of at the time. So this is what Busta Rhymes and Redman and all these guys are seeing, and Wu-Tang, Method Man, Raekwon, when they travel out to, they are seeing that grind in those different cities, different. And they like it. They're like, damn, New York should be doing this, but they're not. So that's the thing. So that is where Conway is coming from. Like, the other cities are showing their artist support to this day, and New York City still has the same mentality, and he doesn't understand why. So that's the problem. And so he's right. He's right. I used to live in New York City. I know exactly where he's coming from. And we shouldn't be in denial of that point. Um, Funkmaster Flex is a gatekeeper and he is part of the problem, which is why he was in his feelings about it. He put out a post initially and said, "Hey, Conway, you want to debate me? Let's debate it." Boom, boom, boom. He put this out on Instagram. Conway said, "Let's do it. Let's have a discussion about it." And the next thing you know, Funkmaster Flex started taking things to the left, escalating things unnecessarily, where now you got this back and forth between Conway and Funkmaster Flex. And I don't think Conway was necessarily trying to have a issue with Flex. Um, so that's my take on that. New York City, you have got to start doing better. Your DJs there, and I'm talking about the DJs, not the people, because Griselda is hot there, and the people who live in these boroughs to say that they're not is in denial. That's ridiculous. They're platinum, double platinum, platinum. They sold records in your city. They sold records everywhere. So don't sit there and say they're not hot. They are. They would be more hot, so to speak, if they got spins just as much as Cardi B, Migos, and all these other artists that really aren't lyrically that gifted like they are, or musically gifted like they are. But you just gotta play them. Play Rhapsody, play Cyrock, play Dave East, play the Migos, play Gunna, play Young Thug, play it all. And that's the point he's making. Make it a well-rounded playlist or whatever you want to call it. Pusha T just had a dope record out. Play it. Play that. Pete Rock just had a dope instrumental album. Play it. And just have it all just be one, a bag of mix of diverse music, in terms of like hip hop, just play everybody. And that way, maybe Rhapsody would get more shine like that in terms of more popularity in the streets or more fame. Um, or Cyrock or Dave East, because in my view, they are better than, Gunna. They are better than Migos. They are. But you have to play, and people will bring up that boom bap. Boom bap ain't as popular. Why is it not as popular? Because you're not playing it. You play it just as much as you play trap. I guarantee you, people will gravitate to it because there's a market for it. And you go to satellite radio and all these other internet stations on Spotify, it's popular. So you might as well Funkmaster Flex and some of the DJs in New York play all the music, play it all. And my only pushback to Conway would be that mainstream music that New York is playing, they play that everywhere. So Funkmaster Flex is a bot, but he has bosses. They tell him what to play. So you can't throw the whole, you can't blame him 100% for everything, but he is a gatekeeper, and that's what you said. So, and I agree with that. He's a gatekeeper. He knows better. And mainstream music is just not in New York, but it's everywhere. So it's hard. And these DJs, not just New York DJs, but DJs across this nation need to, play black music fairly in a more balanced way. And it's unfortunate that Conway is feeling that way, because I'll give you an example of this. Isaac Hayes the third. I used to get into it with him a couple times over the years about Atlanta. He's thinking Atlanta is the best in everything, which is not true, but he has a skewed thought process when it comes to Atlanta. But I also saw the bigger point he was trying to make. His bigger point was all black people need to migrate to Atlanta. We can make this the black capital. Most black people live here. Let's just make it the black capital, which is the point, which is a good point. But then he would say something stupid like Atlanta's making the best music, which is ridiculous. They're not, in my opinion. But I saw his ultimate point. So what I'm going to say is this. For New York, Isaac Hayes III, he would say this to Conway, the machine. He would say, look Conway, New York is not even playing your records. They're not playing your records. Why don't you move down here? Why don't you and Griselda move down here to Atlanta, this black capital? We got the resources that you need in terms of studios. You got the DJs that come and support you. The people will support you. We'll make it happen. Just move down here. Why have the wealth in New York when you can have that black wealth down here where most black people live? That would be Isaac Hayes' the third argument. He's not going to try to get him to get Griselda to change their style or their music. He just said, bring that stuff here. We got you because New York can go support you. He would say the same thing to Pete Rock. Pete, look what you've done for New York over the years, over the last 20, 30 years. Provide them all that heat you've done. You got a brand new album out, an instrumental album that's real good. They won't even acknowledge you. Come down to Atlanta. We got you. We got your resources that you need. The DJs, people, we will support you. Move down to Atlanta and watch. Because New York, they won't do it. And that will be his counterpoint. And if a smart person would be like, you're right. I should move down to Atlanta. And some of those artists did do that. Some of those artists from the New York, like Fife moved to Atlanta in the 90s. Too Short have moved to Atlanta. Music Soul Child's down there now. Because of how you guys treat your artists in New York and sometimes in Philadelphia. You're not playing these records. And I know you're not. You're not bounced enough. You don't even support them. So you got to get it together because Funkmaster Flex, you lost this argument. When Conway wants to have a civil discourse with you about this, you start going to the left. And now you got a lot of people not siding with you. You got some that try to find a way to side with you, but in the end, you are a gatekeeper. In the end, Conway wanted to have a conversation with you about it, and you went and started doing all these laugh emojis and all this stuff, and now he's making fun of you, and it's back and forth. It doesn't get us nowhere. You need to start being more civil and engaging and having a serious conversation about this. That's all I gotta say. Peace and love.